Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas, joined by Tony Finn at WagerTalk and Teddy Covers at Teddy_Covers. Make sure you guys give them a follow. Lots of good, fun banter. Before the video started, let's keep that going throughout the video. Tony, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
We're talking about the No Bank Account Association. The NBA, listen, the NBA is a monster of sorts, right? We have teams that play 3 games a week, sometimes back-to-backs. Now we have load management. We have coaching changes. We have trade deadlines. We have all of these things that go into this fairly long season with a bunch of professional athletes that half the time can't make a free throw for me.
Oh, man, she did a good job.
Huh?
You don't need us.
Now, no, that's my frustration. So what I want to know is, how do I have a profitable NBA season? How do I make money betting NBA?
Well, I'm going to make this short because Teddy's the smart guy in this video. And that is, you're right, it gets harder and harder every year. It's the load management, the schedule. They've tried to make it easier, Kelly. Teddy knows this. There's a couple things that I do that make it a little easier for me. That's I limit my plays in the NBA. I particularly follow injuries, and not just injuries to the multi-millionaires, but maybe the most important player on a team, and that's the guy that's the 7th or the 8th guy, and he gets very little attention. The odds makers know about him, but the public and the average Joe or the weekend warriors do not. They don't put a value on.
So we're talking about bench players,
Yes.
number 2, number 3, kind of guys that, you know, are younger or maybe past their prime, that still get some key minutes, that can have that game-changing shot maybe, but
they
we
are
don't
the
pay
game
enough
changers. They're
Okay.
game changers in my opinion, and those are the guys you pay attention to. Your bankroll management, just like any sport, and limiting your plays. The NBA is, I think, the toughest animal on the
Teddy,
planet.
just because he touched on it, the public, right? The public perception of the NBA right now, we know that this team is good, this team is bad. And I feel like sometimes there can be money made off public perception in the NBA. Your thoughts?
The public has no influence on NBA lines. The public has no influence on NBA totals. The public has, the public will win or lose in the NBA based on factors other than the public just being wrong or they're being publicized or not.
Okay, let me give you an example. So a few weeks ago, the Rockets decided to sit almost every single one of their key players against the Jazz. The Jazz balloon up. And at that point, I'm like, okay, now the number's too high because there's an overreaction. That's what I should have said. Not necessarily the public perception, but I feel like in the NBA, we can tend to overreact to injuries, to load management, to key players being out.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, in my prep for this video, I was trying to find 3 things that are a bettor's friend in the NBA.
Okay.
Right? Number 1 thing that's your friend in the NBA is short-term trends. And we say, oh, look at the long term. Look at the long term. In the NBA, the long term will kill you.
Give me an example. Like, this team is 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 games. Like,
No,
something as
like
simple
this
as
team's
that?
about to go 7-1 against the spread in their next 8 games.
Right.
You don't want to be looking back.
Okay.
You want to be saying, so the Minnesota Timberwolves came out the very first game after the trade deadline, all right, and they blew out the Clippers and the game flew over the total. All right, you say, hey, this is a very different Minnesota team than it was a week ago. They underachieved all year. The time right now is to be betting T-Wolves and over.
Okay.
Okay. You bet the T-Wolves, they went to Toronto. Toronto hit every shot down the stretch. Didn't do you any good. You bet the over, it worked fine. We'll see how that plays out tonight. But you want to be proactive with some of this stuff. Not waiting until they just went 7-1 against the spread their last 8, but 1 or 2 games into that streak saying, hey, this team's found a little something right now. Hey, they got a positive schedule stretch. Hey, they have a terrible schedule stretch. Look at the Pacers right before the All-Star break, where they're playing one elite team after the next, just when they're transitioning with Oladipo coming back in the lineup. And T.J. Warren gets hurt at the same time. So you find these short-term trends that can absolutely be your friend, whereas all the numbers are based on long-term. This is what the side said, this is what the total said. It's all based on long-term.
Okay.
And your point, I want to make one point. In truth, what Teddy said about the public not having a real influence on the number, most sharp groups that concentrate on the NBA, they don't even mess with the side. Most of them are totals guys. They focus on totals and exactly what he described, which affects totals significantly.
So what else is your friend in the NBA? The superstar injury is a friend to your NBA. You just talked about this game with the Rockets where they sat everyone and then they went to Utah and they won the game straight up. Okay?
Which is wild.
It happens.
I didn't even think to sprinkle on the money line, and I was so mad at myself.
If you had a little two-teamer that night with Portland and Denver, yeah, Portland and Denver, 67-1 on a two-teamer.
Wow.
Okay, on a two-teamer.
Every day stuff.
Okay, and they were, or Houston. It was Portland.
Oh yeah,
it
sorry,
was
Houston.
had-
Yes.
yeah. But the superstar sitting out is your friend.
Okay.
Okay. Three things happen
Okay,
when the
can you-
superstar sits out.
Real quick, can you classify what a superstar is? Obviously, everybody knows.
Anyone
what
that's
that
going
is.
to move a point spread.
Which would be the number 1 or number 2 guy on any team, probably.
Yes, some teams the number 2 guy doesn't do anything, and then some teams there's betting market interest in the 3rd or 4th guy.
Okay.
Could be a defensive center.
It does vary, but the concept is this: Kawhi. So here's your example: Kawhi Leonard last week sits out at Cleveland. All right, was that Sunday? Okay, the line goes from the Clippers off a loss on the second of back-to-backs off a loss. Line goes from -8 to -6 without Kawhi at Cleveland. They won the game by 41. It's the easiest bet you'll ever make. What happens in these? I mean, it really is.
It's true. It
happens all
would
the
you say
time.
that's an overreaction?
3 things happen. One is that you say that the sharps don't bet a lot of NBA.
Well,
what they bet is injuries, and they overreact to every injury.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you'll see the line move significantly off of these injuries. You know, from 8 to 6, you see when multiple guys sit, the line can move 4 or 5 points. So the line's going to move. 2 is that every other player on the team who has the superstar who's sitting is going to get more shots, more minutes, more opportunities.
And also, as Marco likes to say, the injured player theory.
And 3, it is the injured player theory. And 3, the opponent's going to let down, and it happens in the NBA more than any other sport, where the opponent, Kawhi's not playing tonight, or whoever it is.
That's a good
Giannis
point.
isn't playing tonight for the Bucks,
Yeah.
So you're getting extra value. The rest of the team steps up, and the other team lets down. It's a long-term, consistent money-making strategy. Is a way to beat the NBA. It really is. So the injuries are your friend, and the superstar injuries are your friend. And 3, just to go to your point, the role player injuries are your friend as well. When Wendell Carter gets hurt for the Bulls.
I don't even know who that is.
Of course, that's the whole concept. The guys who aren't easily replaceable in the lineup but won't move the needle on a point spread.
Exactly.
That's what you're looking for. The backup point guard gets hurt.
So
Oh my
similar
God,
in
the
football
second
when
year-
maybe a left tackle gets hurt, but he might be one of the best left tackles in the NFL, but he's not going to move the line.
Sure, but I mean the guy I wrote down to Davis Bertans for the Wizards.
That guy.
Rashawn Holmes for the Kings. Recent injuries where guys leave the lineup and the team feels it, and they come back and the team feels it, and the market's collective yawn.
And that injury mattered. It did.
Yeah, I know.
It
These are
absolutely
these little. Those are the injuries to be betting.
Okay.
Not the superstar injuries. The superstar injuries, you want to bet them the other way. But so those are your friend. The role player is your friend. The superstar injury is your friend, and the short term is your friend. And that's my NBA advice.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Good stuff.
$9 Monday at WagerTalk and sportsmemo.com. All daily packages for Monday's action, just $9. That includes any 5% best bets, normally priced at $40. Thank you guys for tuning in.